This is Ethan Morton from Purdue men's basketball, and you're watching Boilers in the Stands.
Hello, welcome to Boilers in the Stands. I am Joe Jackson, joined by Kraig Bowers and Aidan Kunst, and I think will be getting an appearance from Greg Braggs in a bit. Talking some of the post-game stuff. He was able to do the press conference. So, live after a Purdue 80-60 win over Penn State, a game in which Mason Gillis hit 9 threes for 29 points. I believe that was a Purdue record from what I saw. We'll get into that, into Edie, into defense and everything. But first, just kind of, some main takeaways. And we'll start with you, Kraig. What were just kind of your main thoughts from the game?
Mason Gillis, full stop. Like, we're a talk show. We're going to talk about more than that. But we could pretty much stop it right there. I'm pretty certain if Mason Gillis hits 9 threes at 75%, that this team isn't going to get beat. I feel pretty safe in saying that, just as a general rule of thumb. That was a record, but it was a record for Mackey. He broke Robbie Hummel's record for Mackey. Remember, Carson hit 10 in the tournament. I think he might have hit 10 twice in the tournament at different points in times, but it was a Mackey Arena record. Also saw a tweet from Jeff Borzello, not positive how to say his name, that's the most points scored by any bench player in the power conference basketball this season.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. 29 off the bench, 9-12 from 3, 10-14 overall. Missed the front end of a 1-1 to get him to 30, but I'm sure he won't be, too upset about that. Aidan, what about you? What are your main thoughts or just key takeaways from the game?
Yeah, fellas, good to be back on the show. Sick for a little bit there, but I'm back now, and a good game to be back for, because it seemed to be pretty electric in that second half when Purdue went on a signature kind of Mackey fueled run there. Obviously, Mason Gillis was huge, and Kraig touched on him. But yeah, I guess my takeaway, man, is I just don't know how you guard us. I don't know how you guard Purdue right now. It really, I keep asking myself what I would do if I was in Micah Shrewsbury's shoes or Mike Woodson's shoes this Saturday. And I just can't come up with a great answer because they're so good. Edie's so dominant down low. Painter's such a good coach, manipulating ways to get Edie the basketball, without help. And they've got one of the better point guards, I think, in the country at this point. I mean, they have an elite team defense spearheaded by Ethan Morton and Zach Edey, and then, a bench with, that's been inconsistent. But you see the stat that Purdue basketball tweeted, and somebody else found it, where Kaufman, Wren, Gillis, Newman, and Jenkins have all scored 25 plus points or 24 plus points in their career after tonight. And so you have the ability to go to the bench, and maybe you'll get one of those performances to have that ability off your bench in addition to everything else. I mean, Fletcher Lawyer was a complete afterthought tonight, and the guy's been a stud for most of the season. It's just crazy how many options this team has. especially when you consider that it's in the context of playing around and through Edie. Those options become even better because their looks are better. So yeah, just blown away with, I thought this might be a little bit of a close game. You saw the betting line, I think it was like 11. Purdue was favored by 11, and then it started to creep down towards like 9. And so you thought, oh, okay, maybe this will be kind of one of those squeak it out games at Mackey, similar to Maryland or something like that. And they took off, and obviously, you make shots, that'll happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. For me, just obviously there's all the offensive stuff. The defense stood out to me. There was definitely some breakdowns, and we'll get into those. But I thought there was I thought the defense was really connected for the most part. Penn State's good enough that they're just gonna, they're gonna force defensive breakdowns at times. Pickett's gonna get a switch he likes and just, back his way all the way to the rim. But for the most part, I thought Purdue did a good job doubling, rotating. I thought TKR did really well on defense today. And so I think for me, there's obviously we'll talk about Mason Gillis, and that's as he should. Like 29, 9 threes, just absolutely nut shooting. But I thought the defense was good too. So, but yeah, we'll get into all of it. I think we, have kind of been starting with the stats, so we can bring those up right now. So yeah, 80-60, Purdue over Penn State. I'm just kind of looking through some of the key ones on the Penn State side. Lundy had 18. He hit 2 or 3 super tough shots. Pickett only had 12. He had 7 assists. Hen had 11. I believe all 11 of those came within the first 5 minutes. He hit 3 threes to start the game, and it was kind of like, wait, what's going on? And then water found its level. And then, on Purdue side, obviously Gillis 29 with the 9 threes. Edie had just another 18 and 13 game, just a casual day at the office for him. Braden Smith almost with a double on 9 points and 9 assists. He was just he was hitting everybody everywhere, exactly where they needed to be. Specifically Gillis, Edie a couple times on the lobs. 19 assists overall out of 42 makes for Purdue. And then they dominate rebounding, 38-19 overall. Offensive is 10-2, defensive 28-17. Both teams low turnovers as we expect for a Purdue Penn State matchup. 2 teams that just don't really turn it over much. But yeah, and then aside from that, Penn State, when they ended up 11 for 29 from 3, 38%. And I feel like that's pretty accurate for how they shot. I think they hit a couple tough ones, and I think they missed a couple that Purdue had breakdowns, and Purdue was lucky to, kind of escape with that. So, that was just a brief summary. Kraig, anything standing out to you? You're muted.
The 2 things that I like to look at every game with this particular Purdue team is rebounding margin and free throw margin. The free throws didn't really matter much today. Quite frankly, we probably played through Zach less than I think we have any game. I would say they shut some things down early. He forced through some double teams, but a lot of his points were off offensive rebounds. So maybe that's why we didn't end up with quite as many free throws as we normally would. But that rebounding margin is huge. I think we were plus 19, if I heard that right in there on the day. And that's that's a massive, massive number.
Yeah, for sure. Aidan, anything for you, Aidan? You're also muted.
2 for 2.
Wow, nice. No, I think Braden's 9 assists stuck out. I think he was really in control tonight. I think when he gets more shots up, when his shots are closer to that 10 number, I think you're usually seeing him more comfortable, more engaged in the game. And I thought we saw that tonight. He really was in the right place. A lot of Gillis's shots, certainly the 1 2-pointer Gillis made. Braden did a great job waiting on it, setting him up, setting his defender up, and then Gillis kind of back cut into a little mid-range that Braden set him up for. And there were a few other times where Braden set up Gillis. And I just thought he was locked in tonight. He was in control. A couple of his best games of the season have come against Penn State. Not sure if that's a coincidence or what, but he was every bit as good as he's been this whole year. It's just his threes didn't fall as opposed to they have in some other games, and for that reason he didn't have the highest point total. But I just thought total complete game, total floor general performance, why he played 35 minutes, and a big reason why Purdue did what they did tonight was Braden was just locked in, I thought, from the jump.
Yeah, no, both of you are just dead on.
And I think 0 turnovers too, Joe, there. So, I mean, come on.
Yep. Yeah, 9 assists, 0 turnovers, like, aggressive shooting, like you said, that's you're going to have a good game when Smith's like that. And to be honest, we haven't seen that for a couple games. Pretty quietly, he's been just kind of, I don't want to say coasting because he plays very hard. But hasn't been his best performances. Bounces back with this as we get into he'll have another tough matchup Saturday. But we'll talk about that later. For me, everything you guys said, and then Morton. You guys know I love Ethan Morton. 2 of 4 from 3, 2 of 5 overall, 6 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. He was attacking. He attacked into the lane multiple times, and that's just, if that's happening, if he is hitting threes and he's attacking, that's just, I don't know what you do then on defense, because that's the guy you're leaving, and then if he's making plays, it's just like, well, we're out of options. So, but yeah, that's kind of the only other thing I would add. But I'll leave it up for either of you, whoever wants it, wherever we want to take it, just go for it.
I know we've talked about Mason and what he did tonight, but I was at that Elite Eight game where Carson went for 42 or whatever against Virginia, and I know what that felt like watching that, and that's what it felt like watching Mason tonight. He doesn't get all the points in the same ways, off the bounce, off the dribble that Carson was, but my gosh, just boom, 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 one after another. And then when he gave that little shimmy shot fake and then stepped into another one, I was like, this is unreal, man.
Well,
and then they run him off the 3-point line and he steps into a 15-footer on the baseline and drills it. Just insane.
And imagine, like, it's one thing when Carson's doing it, the guy who's number 1 on your scouting report. How about the guy who's number 6 or 7 on your scouting report? Yeah. And you're an opposing team trying to weather that storm in Mackey. I mean, it was just, there was no chance when he got going that Penn State was going to win the game. I loved his confidence. I love that one that it wasn't in rhythm at all. He just could have moved it, but he shot it instead. It goes in. Yeah. Joe will show you guys a little bit later on the board. You could even right now, Joe, that roll and replace action that Purdue runs a ton of with Gillis, and it's 4-man. It's really hard to guard. Joe will explain it, but it's basically a pick and roll, and then you just lift up to replace the roller. And so Mason makes a living off that. He's so good in this Purdue offense. And tonight I thought, man, he deserves that moment. He's been a great Boilermaker.
Yeah. Quickly before we do get to the board, I believe before this, Mason Gillis in conference play, Gillis was 7 for 25 from 3, which is 28%. He is now in conference play the 7th best 3-point shooter at 43.2%. So he bumped 15% in one game. But not he took before this game he had 25 threes and he took 12 today. So that'll help when you make 9 of them.
And that's crazy, but also let's not forget he was a career 39-point shooter coming into the game, and he shot 41% last year.
Right.
Like I saw a tweet by Goodman that was like trying to act like he just wasn't, anything of a 3-point shooter before he went crazy tonight. And career, he's a really good 3-point shooter.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he is. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I thought last year was slightly outlierish. It was proven kind of right early, but then he has this game, and he's not going to shoot 9 for 12 consistently. That's my hot take. I don't think he's going to do that every game. But if he can be 38%, 39%, like that's huge. So we will get into the board here, or should we let Braggs go? I don't know what he is on time. He just hopped in.
Yeah, he's on.
Get him in here.
Get him in here. Let's get our guy.
There he is.
What's up?
Hot takes from the press conference. What you got?
It's our house. Hey, I like that background. Our house.
That's perfect.
It was
nice.
Now and just see if they shut the lights off on me in here, but we'll just give it a run. But man, what a game! What a game, guys. You think it's like, you worry about the tone of the crowd because Sunday was just electric, even 45 minutes before tip. Tonight it was a little more subdued, even though it's a sold out crowd as it always is here at Mackey Arena. And you're like, is this going to be a trap game? And then Mason Gillis just implodes and goes full Steph Curry mode. I mean, that's, special stuff when you see that kind of, moment for a guy like Mason Gillis, who's busting his ass for this team and has been a starter for most of his career. And, it just gets to a point where this bench is really becoming a strength of this team, where a few weeks ago we were worried about that. And now Mason Gillis, a former starter, David Jenkins, a former starter, Brandon Newman's been in the starting lineup here before, even in his freshman year at times. So these guys have experience, and now all of a sudden it's all coming together here as we wind down to the last 8 games of this season. And it's really exciting to watch. I mean, everybody's taking a turn, and that's the mark of a great team. They asked Micah Shrewsbury, why is this team so much better than some other of the other Matt Painter teams? And he said, well, they just fit together. They fit together well, and they know Zach Edey is the guy, and Zach Edey makes everybody around him better. And obviously that's the thing. I asked Matt Painter a question about the chess match between him and Micah Shrewsbury, and I thought he gave a really interesting answer. It was like a 5-minute answer, literally. It'd be hard to clip, but really interesting stuff about how when he brought Shrewsbury over here back from the Boston Celtics, how they tried to like reverse what worked against Boston, what the stuff they struggled against. He said, we're putting that into our offense. And he said, Micah Shrewsbury knows 60 to 70% of their out of timeout plays. So he said, there's a little bit of a chess match there, but at the same time, I have the horses. I have Zach Edey. He has to scheme against me. And if you don't, you get what you saw in the second half of the Palestra game. So some interesting stuff here tonight. A blowout, which I was thinking it might be a little closer, being that it is a trap game. And now we get to head towards Bloomington and go to Assembly Hall here Saturday afternoon. Yeah. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, and we will get into that. I assume we'll get into a little bit of an IU preview at some point later in the show. But we'll jump back to the board. Not the smoothest transition, but we will. So we were talking about Mason Gillis, Braggs, just to clue you in. Mason Gillis, kind of how he was getting the threes. And a lot of this was just on, simple roll and replace action. So oftentimes this is just a high pick and roll that Purdue will run. And so you have, there you go. So you have like Braden Smith with the ball. You're going to have Edey coming up, Edey's here. He's going to come up and set a screen. You usually have Gillis somewhere down here. This is, Mason Gillis, and then you have whoever here and then whoever here. Actually, well, it doesn't matter. Gillis is somewhere in here. So as he comes off the screen, Edey's then going to roll, right? And as that's happening, Gillis comes up here. And so as, he has the ball here and then Edey's diving, he takes Gillis's man with him. So now Gillis's man is kind of over here and there's double. And so now he's coming up here. And then, as Smith kind of dribbles down, he's able to draw over, multiple defenders. Gillis is kind of just curling here and he gets a wide open three. So it's really just a lot of Braden Smith and Zach Edey. Zach Edey draws so much attention that, as he's diving and Braden has the ball here, Gillis just has a free reign pretty much up here. And so that's just a simple roll and replace. And, Purdue loves to run that. They ran it out of the Chicago action today, which is the pin down into a handoff, and then they'll have Gillis pop up off of that. I don't know. Maybe we could draw that at some point too, but that's Gillis hit 9 threes, and I would say 5 of them came off of pretty much that action. Just simple roll and replace. He's going up as the roll happens, and Penn State was, especially with Dorsey, Penn State was sending 2 to 3 guys at Edey at all times. They usually were taking Gillis's guy, keeping him on Edey because he's such a force on the roll, and Smith can. Smith got 2 lobs to Edey today. So you have to be aware of that. And then Smith's such good of a scorer and passer that you have to give him attention. And then Gillis is wide open, and he had himself a night to go along with it.
And that's how, I saw some people saying, oh, just double up Ethan Morton. That's how you manipulate it so that can't be the thing you do. Keep the ball in the middle of the floor. Braden's so good in that pick and roll, where now it's not just, oh, yeah, we'll just double off Ethan. No, you're bringing another variable into it with a 4-man who can shoot as well as Gillis can. And they could run it for first even, too, if they wanted.
Yeah, they do.
But Gillis, it's just difficult for Forrest to guard, man. Like, there's so much attention on Edey. Your head's spinning, and all of a sudden here he goes lifting to the top, and you just know Smith's going to find him. That's the great thing about Braden. So a lot of different ways there. Like Joe said, I think that Painter kind of manipulates the help around Edey, and it's so unique to have someone like Edey. It's such a coach's best friend to have him.
Yeah, for sure. No, It's really because then there was 2 times that Penn State didn't really send help to Edie, and you know what happened is Edie got 2 lobs, and one of them was like a pretty big poster, to be honest. But yeah, so that's
throw it up there. Throw it up there. He'll go get it.
Yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, that's where a lot of that happened. And then Braden's just too good, and Gillis is knocking him down. So, I don't know. You guys got anything for anything like that? If not, we can. I don't know where we're gonna go next.
Did you guys go over the team stats yet?
Yep.
Yeah, we did.
Because I just
got anything from
fascinating. I mean, 31 threes got up for Purdue. You know, that's pretty impressive. 45% from 3, shooting 31. Obviously, Mason Gillis hitting 9 of 12 helps that cause. But you know, all our concerns about how this team was going to be able to shoot 3-point percentage, and a lot of time when even talking about last year's team where we were like hoping defensive numbers were going to go up at some point. They catch on, right? And I think Robbie Hummel came on and said, when you get to this point in the season, you kind of are who you are. But this Purdue team now all of a sudden seems to be, like you were saying, Joe, on Twitter, it's like they're finding their level with some of the guys where their numbers weren't exactly where they should be. Mason found it all in one game is what you said to find his level.
Yeah.
Kraig pointed out Ethan Morton is quietly starting to get back to a respectable average. How much of this is lightning in a bottle, or how much of this is everyone starting to get comfortable with their roles, like David Jenkins, Ethan Morton, Mason Gillis, and now this is the 3-point shooting team that maybe we expected going into the season.
Yeah, and this is why it was always pretty silly in my mind to say that has this Purdue team hit its ceiling? When they won in Portland, and we heard that amongst some of the talking heads of like, have they hit their ceiling? I mean, where do they improve? And it's like this bench is playing nowhere near what they can be, and these freshman guards are going to get better as well. So I think this is just part of the continuous growth of this team over the course of this year. And they're obviously 9 threes in a game is lightning in a bottle. But, Braden Smith goes 1 for 6. He's a 40% 3-point shooter. So it all evens out in the end. And Painter's been pleading with us, trying to tell us this is a good 3-point shooting team. And I think we need to believe him and not the talking heads on that one.
Well, and I never doubted that. And I sent out a tweet a couple weeks ago where I posted all the statistics from 3 against power conference teams. Like a lot of our bad 3-point shooting nights were when we were playing some small schools and we were up 25 or 30 and a bunch of dudes were just jacking threes for fun and whatnot. There were a couple of games, that Nebraska game at Nebraska. I don't think we shot great against Rutgers. So there's a couple sprinkled in there, but for the most part, games against other power conference teams, competitive games, this team shot 35% or better the vast majority of the season. And a lot of those games, they shot over 40%.
No, it's definitely a great thing to see. I just think as we get here to the end and these guys getting really comfortable within their roles just speaks to, I think, I said it on our CHGO Big Ten betting show that we talk about. I just think a lot of fans are like, don't want to over dream about the future. Everybody, I get it. Let's talk about next game. And I think it was Ethan Morton that said, it would have been easy for us to think about Saturday. We didn't overlook this game. Matt Painter said, how can you not get up for a team that could be in the tournament? How could you not get up for trying to win a Big Ten championship? But I think as fans, we're always going to be thinking about the Holy Grail. A lot of us. Some of us are taking it the one game at a time, and you're very superstitious. And if you dare talk about March and you're thinking past Saturday, that means you're going to lose on Saturday. But for someone like me, I'm always thinking big picture and thinking about the dreams of them, exercising some demons. And the more I see this bench rise, the better I feel about their chances to exercise some of those demons and slay the dragon.
Yeah, no, even obviously Jenkins, I think he went 1 for 2 from 3 today. I thought he played really, really good defense. But just the bench in general, I thought TKR played good defense today, at least for the most part. The bench, honestly, the bench defense just stood out to me. Thought it was really good. Newman didn't have a great offensive game, but I still thought he did pretty well on Pickett when he had his chance. But it's just, like you said, the bench is really rounding into form, and like that's big because like we're just I'm going to look ahead. In March, there's going to probably be a game where Edie's going to get in foul trouble or something, just with the refs, whatever, yada yada yada. Having guys that can come off the bench and actually fill in roles, be confident, play 15 minutes, get you productive 15 minutes, like that's huge. You need it. I wrote about it in an article I wrote about David Jenkins today. Like he's just finding his role. He's playing really, really well on defense, and now that's leading him to getting more minutes, and now that's leading him to shooting the ball better. He went 1 for 2 from 3 today. Obviously, Gillis has kind of been up and down, and I think we'll take this to Gillis versus first in the second, but he finds his stride today, and we're hoping, I'm hoping that carries to 38% for the rest of the year. If he can shoot 38%, 40%, like that's huge. Come off the bench, hit those replace the roller, just stuff like that. So I think it's a good time to take it there.
Yeah, you absolutely nailed it that's exactly because Brother Ted had this. He straight up asked, what are the odds Gillis will start in Bloomington, and how do you compare Gillis to first? Because Matt Painter did say in the postgame presser, I started Gillis in the second half, obviously because of how hot he was. I mean, is there nobody asked him if he was considering the switch. I thought about it, but I just thought it would be a stupid question.
Probably wouldn't answer.
I don't think that happens. And Painter said it on his radio show that he likes first in there to protect Zach from getting fouls. And I think especially going down to IU and playing against TKR, I'd be TJD. Woo. I am sorry, Trey Kaufman, and I will never make that mistake again. But yeah, I don't see that happening at IU. I think Painter, especially with Race, also, I think Painter's going to want first in there to start, maybe absorb some fouls, keep Zach out of foul trouble to start the game.
Yeah, this is an interesting debate. That I dug into the numbers a little bit before the show. If you look at them, when Gillis is out there without first, the offense is a little bit better, and already a little bit better than what it already is. 118 points per possession versus 115, which is a small increase there. But the defense is quite a bit better with first out there. And Gillis has a reputation for being an excellent defender. But at some point, I think the lack of length catches up to him a little bit. They're only allowing 87 points per 100 possessions when first is in there and not Gillis, and then 102 when Gillis is in there and not first. And so that's a pretty significant discrepancy, and I think gives Painter a little bit of defense in terms of why he starts first. Because obviously you watch a game like tonight, you're like, why wouldn't he start? And first doesn't do a whole lot of flashy things. But I think he's excellent defensively. He gives them a monster advantage on the offensive boards. I think in offensive rebound rate, he's top 25 in the country. Edie's, I think, number 1. So, like, you got those two guys in your front court. And first gives you the ability to guard a 5-man when you have a 4 who can't shoot. And that will be one of the very interesting subplots in Bloomington this weekend is who guards who. It could easily be first guarding Trace, Jackson Davis, and Edie guarding Race Thompson and Edie doubling on the catch. They have shown a willingness to do that, and it easily could be that and kind of surprise some people who are expecting this TJD Edie heavyweight matchup.
Yeah.
Me and you have talked a little bit off camera about it. Like it's a possibility. It's going to be interesting, right? Because then they do bring Renaud off the bench. And so I think you trust first a little bit more with the size against Renaud just to start. So like, I could see it depending on matchup. Like first gets the first half start and Gillis starts the second half. So that way you can match first with, Renaud's double big lineup with TJD. But it's going to be interesting. Like at the end of the day, I don't think really Gillis or first probably care too much if they start or come off the bench. And probably in an ideal world, you're either playing the hot hand like today, who gets more minutes. If there's no hot hand, and probably in an ideal world, you're playing each 20 minutes, and you're getting the most productive 20 minutes out of each of them, roughly. It's a little bit dependent on matchup and stuff. I'm not saying, I guess, specifically 20-20 split, but just in general, like they're both talented enough to start You know, it's the Travion Edie thing to a much lesser extent because they're obviously not as big roles. But my guess would be first starts, and I think we see him a little bit on TJD, and then maybe second half you see more Gillis depending on how they go.
And Painter doesn't mess with lineups when they're winning. If you look over the last 2 or 3 years, as long as they're winning, even when there might be some things where you're like, oh, well, like this guy might be playing better off the bench, whatever. He doesn't mess with them as long as they keep winning. And as somebody said in the chat, Painter knows best.
Yeah.
He'll figure it out.
No, 100%. And Derek in the chat, he said, who cares who starts? Purdue is good, Derek Mulligan. And yeah, of course, but that's what we do here on Boilers in the Stands postgame shows. We're going to pick it apart, and obviously Matt Painter knows better than all of us. But if we just started every show, Zachy, because that's the famous quote that's going, making the rounds on Twitter from Micah Shrewsbury. He's like, he was very somber, comes in. He's like, I'm going to make my opening statement real short and sweet. Purdue is the best team in the country. Matt Painter's the best coach in the country. Zach Edey's the best player in the country. And it's like, yeah, we could fire up our post-game show, say that, and say, good night, everybody. It's as simple as that at the end of the day, but we're going to have some fun with this and toy around with some different thoughts and ideas, and most of them will be silly, but that's what we do as fans. Fan is short for fanatical, and we appreciate everyone tuning in. If my computer just completely shuts off like it just did a minute ago, I'm going home. But if not, I would like everyone, because we got a good number of people in the YouTube chat and obviously a good number just watching live from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. But if you're in the YouTube chat, there's over 100 people in it. Please hit that like button. We really appreciate you joining us. Hit that like button, subscribe to us. It's going to help us grow what we're trying to do. Just more likes, the more it sends it through the algorithm and sends it to Purdue fans that may not be aware of the coverage we're doing. And over the last week, we've been really having fun with this, and some big things are happening in the future, some better guests, and it's just going to keep coming. And there's bigger games to come too. So we appreciate everybody interacting in the chat. You guys certainly add to the, you can hit the like, you can press it, Mike, whatever you got to do, press it, like it, smash that like button with a hammer. I don't care. Just get it done for us, because we really appreciate it. And everybody tuning into the chat and interacting like this, you really add to the show, because it keeps our wheels turning as far as things we want to talk about, because we want to talk about what you're talking about as well. So I don't know everything you guys covered. So Kraig, I don't know what else you have in the bag, but I'll let you throw it to you.
I think we've hit on a lot of the stuff that needed to be pointed out in the game. I mean, it was pretty simple today for the most part. Somebody did say that Edey had a quiet, 18, 13, 19, and 13, whatever it was. And, I think it was quiet because we didn't run through him a lot tonight. A lot of it was coming off of offensive rebounds for misses and whatnot. But like, how incredible, and we've talked about this before, but how incredible it is that you have a guy that goes out and puts up 19 and 13 and you're like, quiet game. You know what I mean? It's just amazing. And that's why he is the best player in the year. I heard somebody say the other night, his bad night or his not incredible night is 19 and 13. You're going to get that every single night. So I think more, if we look at Purdue, where they sit in the national landscape, maybe look ahead a little bit to Saturday at this point, maybe Joe and Greg and Aidan.
Yeah. I have the one thing about
everybody wants to talk about Saturday, no question. IU was talking about it before the Maryland game. Look what happened to them.
Yeah.
But we're ready now. It's right in there. What were you saying, Joe, though?
I was going to say just the National Player of the Year race that shouldn't be a race, and the Big Ten Player of the Year race that at least there's a little more merit to me. There's Edey had 13 rebounds, and I can remember vividly 2 to 3 times that he just let the ball hit the ground because he thought somebody else had it. He's not he's cool with others getting rebounds. There's the one specifically that him and Morton both went for it, and then Edey was just like, take it. Edey could have easily grabbed it, got another rebound.
Right.
And I don't, obviously, okay.
And Edey said it famously to start the year. He said, I don't care who gets the rebound as long as we get the rebound.
Yeah. And I'm not saying Trey, because the other runner obviously is Trey Sexton-Davis for Big Ten Player of the Year. He put up the 20 and 20 against Maryland, but nobody else can rebound for them. They rely solely on him, so it's a little different. I'm not taken away from Trace. And
Well, what did you
we'll
guys
talk, we'll
make?
talk about IU now.
I mean, what
but-
did
He
you
also
guys?
missed-
I'm sorry,
He
I
also
was just
missed
going
a
to say,
ton.
what did you guys make of Maryland's head coach going out and saying Trace Jackson Davis is the best player in the country, and then he doubled down on it and said better than Zach Edey? And I thought that
Butter
was
him up.
interesting. And then I was like, let me look
Yeah.
at the schedule to see when Purdue plays Maryland again.
Well, IU was
Butter him
coming
up
into
before they play.
right.
Yeah.
IU was coming into Maryland. That was why he did it. There's
Okay.
no way he actually believes that. And then you look at the egg that IU laid, and there you go.
Yeah, no,
So-
I heard.
So he's going to do this when he plays us. He's going to switch this up,
Oh,
or
yeah.
is he going to? Because I mean, I'll tell you right now, I might if they play again and we beat them, I might sit in that post game presser and say, "So you said Trace Jackson Davis is better than Zach. How do you feel now?" I don't care if he jumps off that podium and attacks me, but I thought that was a pretty profound statement. Like, I think people are like, let's just give Zach Edey his flowers. He's special.
Yeah.
What he's doing this year is special.
Before we jump into the IU stuff, and I know this is a Purdue pod, I might get a little hate for this. I am not looking forward to the reactions, whether Purdue wins or loses at IU. If Purdue wins, it's going to be Trace Jackson Davis sucks. And I think Edey's having a better season. Trace Jackson Davis is still good. If IU wins, it's going to be, Trace deserves National Player of the Year. And it's just like,
Yeah.
I just have to get that off my chest right now.
Because I had,
That's gonna
like I said,
absolutely
in our betting Big Ten show we do for CSGO, I have this guy Gary who's in the chat, big time IU fan, and he conned me into a sandwich bet for Saturday, which didn't scare me because I think I'm going to get that sandwich. I'll get a nice big sandwich because I know he's going to be paying for it at the end of the day. But then he also tried to get me to agree to, well, and if IU wins, you have to admit Trace Jackson Davis is better. I was like, I don't care what happens on Saturday. You will never get me to admit that because it's just not the truth. Trace Jackson Davis certainly has gotten, hot here lately. And I thought at the end of last year, coming into this year, I thought he did turn a corner as a player. First few years of his career, I thought I still think there's a element of his game that's one-dimensional, but that one dimension is damn good. I'm not trying to sell him short as a player. He's certainly talented, but I also think there's somewhat of some things to be left to be desired in his game. You wish he had a jump shot. You wish he could do some different things, but he can pass well, he rebounds well, and he's amazing around the hoop. But that being said, Zach Edey, and we all know this, and everybody in the chat knows this, the dominance he's showing is at Shaq levels. When you're talking Shaquille O'Neal, and I watched him play when he was at LSU, and I know Kraig did too, that's a dominance you rarely see. You want to say Zion Williamson generation? Well, of course. Zion only played 1 year at Duke. Zach's in his third year here, and he's playing like a veteran. Like you talk about being a leader of this team, making the right play, not obsessing over the stats. That's who Zach Edey is, and they're on the best team in the country. I mean, I think this goes without saying, but, I'll let you guys kick it around.
Yeah, I mean,
oh, there you go.
oh, sorry. The race is over. It's over.
Yeah, it is. And if we can jump to the game, I guess what I'm fascinated with is the matchup down low. I talked about it a little bit earlier. Who guards who? At times we have seen Trace like grab and go. Like if you watch that Maryland game, you saw him do it a bunch. Like he has gotten to the point where he can kind of dribble it coast to coast and make plays for others with his improved passing ability. In the past, we've seen Edey dominate Trace. At least in the post, like just kind of swallows them up, and Trace isn't as effective. But I don't know if they'll be willing to put Edey on Trace with the transition stuff and with a little bit more of Trace's improvement. The other thing I think the game will come down to, and you saw it against Maryland if you watched that IU Maryland game, does Jalen Hood-Schifino hit his pull-up jumpers? He did not against Maryland. Purdue,
Right.
As we know, famously, Kraig knows what we will give them mid-range jumpers if they want them. And he will take them. He'll take them. And he was, I think, 1 for 14 against Maryland. So you hope he didn't get all the bad out before Saturday. But Purdue's going to give him those floaters, those mid-range shots. I expect him to take quite a few of them. Obviously, we expect to have Ethan Morton guarding him, so it won't be an easy task for JHS. So you can just ask Pickett about that tonight. You're going to have to work for your points. And so if he's locked in, if he's hot, if he's on a heater, he's been a guy who's gotten streaky, hits like 5 threes and a half, and then just doesn't score for the next one. So I think the game will really come down to that. And then, do anybody else besides Trace kind of step up, because I think they'll have a good game plan to keep Trace in check.
Yeah, for sure.
I completely agree. Me and Kraig are laughing because we're in a tug of war for who can put this comment up first. But Boiler in Texas has been
Boiler in Texas.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
nice.
a big supporter, I think, of all of ours on Twitter. He's a mainstay on Boiler's Twitter. Really enjoy his content and his positive attitude as a fan. So thank you and welcome to the show and the live show, and the live chat. We appreciate you coming in. Some people were asking, is any of us going to Assembly Hall on Saturday? We certainly considered it. I thought about, I almost put in a request for a press credential. I was trying to push Kraig to go because he hasn't been to Assembly Hall for a Purdue game since he was younger. And I think the next time we do get a credential there, he's going to be the one to go because I want him to experience the madness. I've been there the last 3 years. And last year, obviously, with the court storming and everything, left a bad taste in my mouth. But, the more we started to think about it, the more we were like, well, we want to go live as soon as this game's over on Saturday, win or lose. I know everyone don't want to talk about the we're going to win, and I think we all feel pretty confident about the matchup, but anything can happen in the hall of calls as some people call it. So you just never know. And the energy is just different there. I'll certainly take Purdue and put the money on them all day, every day, but there's no guarantees. But at the same time, for what we're going to do on Saturday, we got some big things planned as far as our post-game show, and we're all going to be going, all 4 of us will be going live as soon as the game ends. And when we have home games, we all got to get to our stations. I'm in the pressers, or Kraig will be at times, and we've got to get to our stations. Joe and Aidan got to get to their houses because we're all here at Mackey. We want to experience it in the stands because that's what this show is all about. And then on the road, we can go live a lot quicker. So we want everybody that's tuned in right now to jump into our live show immediately following the IU game on Saturday, because we're going to be fired up for that one, no doubt about it. So, that's my spiel when it comes to that.
Yeah, I'll bring it back to the game. While Aidan was talking, looked up some numbers because I was pretty confident that this is where it was. IU's post defense per synergy. They are in the 16th percentile, so they are, that's like probably puts them like 300th in the country. They've not been a good post defense team. It hasn't happened a ton against them. Teams don't post up a ton, but in 159 possessions, they have not been good. They've only doubled 14, and in those possessions, they are like the 7th worst team in the country. And then defensive efficiency, obviously, it's only 14 possessions, and that's the bigger takeaway is that they just don't double. So I, kind of like Aidan said, like Edie has this ability to just kind of move Trace if he wants. If they double, then the passes. Basically what that's saying to me is the rotations aren't going to be there on the backside for IU's defense. And if you watch IU's defense, that's what's been bad for them this year. Is their perimeter defense has not been good. If they had perimeter defense, they would be much better than what they are. Because their offense, like, it isn't pretty, but they can score. And it's just the defense. The perimeter defense isn't there. And so Edie's got to be ready to kick out, and everybody else has to be ready to move, ready to catch and shoot, and then knock them down. Like, I know it's a very simple, like, make your shots. But I think it honestly might come down to that. Assuming IU doubles, like, you got to move well. You got to knock them down, because more often than not, IU's going to let you, or give you opportunities to get good looks. So, and then on the other end, it's just what are we going to do against the pick and roll? Or if you have something about the post defense, Aidan, go.
I was just going to say, and can Trace push Edie out far enough?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about a 6'8", really 6'8". I don't know what he's listed at weight-wise, probably around 240, like, versus 7'4", 300. Like, if he isn't able to push him out far enough where doubling on the catch is effective, because, again, we all know in here that if he catches it anywhere near the rim, who cares about a Miller Kopp double? That's not going to do anything. Yeah. So, if Trace can chest up on him, Hunter did it pretty well. Dickinson, like, pushed him out, got him a couple feet outside the paint, and now Edie's got to take, like, 2 dribbles, shot or ball fake on the double. But, if he can catch it, and it's no guarantee. Like, remember last year, Michael Durr got a bunch of minutes. IU's backup big, that 7'2" kid from South Florida who had transferred in. Currently, Geronimo's not going to play, and I don't think Dunkam's going to play. So their backup 5-man's Malik Renew, a 6'9" freshman. They don't have much size, guys, and
They only have
I
three
don't
front row players.
really know what they do.
Here's
I
the-
really
and-
don't know what they do.
Here's the interesting thing in that, and I was actually kind of proud of myself because I'm terrified of Matt Painter and asking him questions. If I ask the players, it's a little easier, but asking Matt is terrifying to me. And so
It's
I
scary.
wanted to ask him about the gamesmanship and the chess match between him and Shrewsbury. He gave this really long, really great answer. And at the end of it, he talked about what he would do against Zach, and he said, "You have to double him. You have to." And then he went on to say, the best team that ever, and I know this is a team I hate bringing up, but he said the best team that ever did their job against Zach Edey was St. Peter's. He's like, he's like, their tallest guy was 6'8". He's like, but he stayed in the fight the whole game. And you not only have to stay in the fight, but you have to have the stamina to not foul. Because a lot of guys will try to fight, but then they get fatigued and then they foul. He's like, but the St. Peter's guy, he didn't have size. He's 6'8", but he did the best job I've ever seen against Zach Edey. He's like, so you take that for what it's worth. And I thought that was a pretty profound statement. I was disagreeing from the stands because I thought St. Peter's was fouling every time down the court. But, I'm going to take Matt Painter's word for it with his assessment with this. And I think that's part of it when it comes to playing Zach Edey. I think he demoralizes some guys before they even step on the court. And then others are more ready to try to take on the fight.
Yeah, for sure. But I think a lot of the things that we can talk about in this IU Purdue game, no matter how much we break all this down in a rivalry game like this, it's just 9 times out of 10, it feels like you can throw it out the window.
Right.
Right. How many times have we seen what should have been a clearly overmatched team, and it still comes down to the wire and takes a late tip in or whatever it is to finish the game? They're just different. But I still think, like you guys say, with Zach's advantage down low, their lack of size, JHS is just a complete wild card offensively. We've seen him blow up and go off, and we've seen him shoot 1 for 14. And like you said, Joe, he will take a lot of those mid-range shots, and if he's hitting them, I think it'll be really close. If all they've got is Trace scoring,
Yeah, then you get the Maryland game.
You get the Maryland game. And Purdue will have to be sharp with its rotations, especially if they double Trace in the post. Like IU can shoot the 3 really well. I can't believe I'm saying that. It hasn't been the case. But this year it's true that, they're a good 3-point shooting team. But to Craig's point, like, who had Rob Finney going off last year?
Right.
Nobody. So
Right.
who's that going to be? I'm sure Trey Galloway will be 6 of 7 from 3 or something, and we're all, sweating it down the stretch. And that's just the type of stuff that happens in these kind of games, to Craig's point. So who will that be? I don't know.
Watching Jalen
Seems like-
Hurts-Trevino drop 30, and he had like 20 in the first half the other night or a couple games ago. I was like, man, I'm sure happy that apparently he's going to the NBA. Have fun. Like, he's talented.
Yeah, no
So
kidding.
he's
No
probably
kidding.
that guy that who's going to go off. It's probably him. Miller. If you want to talk about a person, Miller Kopp would be the guy that no one's talking about that you have to account for, even though nobody shows him much respect.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
you do. And that's an interesting point. Sorry, Joe, but I was just going to say, like, to the whole, like, should Edey guard Trace? Like, you want, Joe, what do you think? Do you want Edey guarding Trace in ball screens? Because now I'm thinking, that drop coverage is so effective. You obviously don't want him
force pull-ups.
Try to just force pull it, because I don't know that First could play the drop quite as well. Maybe, I don't know if they'd switch that off or what, but
Yeah, I don't hate it, because then you trust, Edey probably is going to be more suited when it goes pure post-ups, but then you got then First, First has to be there on the rotations always. Trace is going to get by Edey at times when he drags him out to 18 feet and just, kind of faces up whatever drives by. But I could see that, the thing that's helpful is Hutch-Fino. Well, Hutch-Fino is a good passer. I haven't seen as many just like those lobs that just killed, obviously Purdue won the home game, but the IU the second half of last year is just Xavier Johnson and Trace Jackson just had so many lobs off of empty side pick and rolls where you just have nobody in the corner, strong side corner where the pick and roll is. So yeah, maybe Edey does start. You see how the drop works. If the speed is just killing them and they're, Hood-Schifino's not settling for mid-ranges and they're getting good looks at the rim, then maybe you switch it up. But yeah, I could see that. I was going to go like I assume this is kind of what it'll be. Morton's on Hood-Schifino, Smith is on Galloway or Bates, and then Warriors on Kopp. That would be my guess to start.
Yep. I would think,
you're not putting like Morton on Kopp or anything. Obviously, Kopp has a height advantage, but if Kopp wants to back him down, like they'll adjust if that has to happen.
No, I think that's exactly what they'll do. And again, like these two teams are kind of trending in opposite directions, and too early fouls to Trace like could just torpedo this for IU. Like guys are saying, we're hyping IU up like they're the '95 Bulls. The guy's saying that in the chat. And we're not trying to, but hey, you got to be careful.
Well, the '95 Bulls didn't have Jordan, so it'd be the '90s. Well, I guess '95, '96 was the 72 and 10 year, but I'm being picky.
Yeah, so I mean, look, we're not trying to, we just want to be careful. Hey, man, it's IU. Last year is obviously haunting in all of our memories to be number one here and having to go down there. It's a weird spot, but it's
that's what I mean. That's what I talk about when you talk about the big picture of this team. You've seen it enough times now this year. You talk about Robbie Hummel saying last year, you are who you are at this point. Well, this team executes. This team doesn't back down. This team is the first to the floor. This team shares the ball. This team plays defense. This team is KenPom, number 3 in the country right now, offensive efficiency. They're always efficient, but this year they're really efficient. They're a well-oiled machine. And I just think most fans just because you get spooked after last year to start the beginning of the year. You're like, how are they? I'm sitting here on this show going, how is this team going to lose, Kraig? And we're all laughing with Bobby Riddell, because we couldn't figure it out. Well, then we figured it out. They found a few different ways to lose games, albeit a lot of close ones, but they found their ways to lose. So, I think people are just spooked to believe, even though it just continues to happen, 22-1. I think people are waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? Some of these games have been close. Matt said that, hey, I look like a genius right now. We're number 1 in the country, all this stuff, but we've won a lot of close games that we could have lost, and then the conversation would be completely different. So you try to humble yourself a little bit when you are analyzing what you're seeing here, but at the same time, there's something to be said about how many close games they've won, and it shows, their composure, so there's nothing but roses for this team.
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to say the bringing up the guy, I already lost it. Whoever just said that maybe it's a TKR big game, Jeremy, maybe Newman, if we're just kind of throwing darts at that, who has the random big game, Newman would be the one you least expected, and he just comes in and drills 4 threes. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm just kind of saying if we're going for the most unlikely scenario at this moment, it's probably
that's definitely the most unlikely. It's definitely the most unlikely. And Jenkins
IU, it's
kind of 8.
Yeah, for IU, it's CJ Gunn coming in.
Yeah, CJ Gunn or Caleb Banks have been playing more recently. That would be really annoying because he hasn't really played all year. If he just had 12 points, but Jenkins started to eat into Newman's minutes a little bit tonight, actually, and I kind of obviously we had him on. You guys had him on last night, did a great job, but David with his kind of platonic relationship with IU, he has no hatred towards him really because he's not been a part of the rivalry. It'd be kind of cool to see him kind of just get in there and not be fazed by Assembly Hall, put up 12 points or whatever. I think that'd be pretty cool. I hope that happens because obviously David's put in his time and deserves it.
Well, that's kind of how John Octius was too, right? As a grad transferred, hadn't grown up around the rivalry or whatever, and we get the baptizing the masses moment from him out of that. So certainly could happen. Would love to see it be Jenkins too. You guys see Tennessee lost today too?
Yeah.
I think one thing that, we keep talking about, we know eventually Purdue is going to get another loss, or at least we think they do. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll go into the tournament with 1 loss. But man, the longer we keep chugging along with wins, we're just putting a pretty big gap, man. I mean, something at this point, Purdue would kind of have to implode for us not to end up with the 1 seed. I mean, we'd have to rattle off 3, maybe 4 losses to not end up with the 1 seed.
What was it? Norlander tweeting Purdue's going to win the Big Ten. He'd already sewn it up and wrote it down.
Yeah, lock it up.
People were like, dude, chill out. Don't be saying that here. it's just funny because like I was obsessed with seeing every team get 4 losses in the Big Ten to separate that gap for Purdue and the rest of the pack in the Big Ten. Now there's only 3 teams left with 4 wins. Now there's a potential
4
where,
losses.
I mean 4 losses. I mean, thank you. Where there's a potential where now I'm gunning for all 3 of those teams to lose one more time. So now they have 5 losses to Purdue's 1. You know, it's amazing how much they've separated the pack with the Big Ten and nationally.
Yeah, no, I quickly, and then I X'd out of it because I'm not smart sometimes. Only other team in the country
You're
with
the
one loss.
smartest. Yeah, well, you and Aidan are competing for the smartest ones here.
No, it's Joe.
I'm not a
It's
professor.
definitely Joe.
It's Joe. It's Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the numbers
I'm
guy.
not a professor.
Craig's
so
like, look, I'm a professor. Nobody's giving me credit. We're giving it to the young buck, okay, Craig?
I'm fine with it.
I'm the dumbest one. There's no question. My guy Chubbs in the chat who keeps talking about Illinois, he can attest. I'm the dumbest one. That much can be determined.
But I was just going with Florida Atlantic's the only other team with 1 loss. The only teams with 2 losses is Houston and Charleston. So Houston's the only one that has the case. You know, they're on the 1. I assume they're on the 1 seed too, or maybe
Yeah, they are.
Whatever. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams with 3: Alabama, Arizona, Virginia, New Mexico, UC Santa Barbara. So, you know, out of that group, there's 4 teams right now, just based on losses. And I know that just pure losses isn't everything. Obviously resume and all that stuff is taken into account, but like you said, like it's not just a big lead in the Big Ten, it's a big lead just period. Like, you know, the for as many shows as Field of 68 is able to milk out of who's the best in the country, like they're running out of titles they can use right now.
They are.
They all unanimously, every content I watched from them the last 2 days, they have all come around and just said, okay, we're gonna quit fighting.
We finally
this.
got Goodman. We finally broke him down.
Yeah. I didn't see Goodman, but yeah, everybody else was like, yes. Now I'm finally going to admit that Purdue is the best team in the country. So.
They do a funny. Joe's right. Every single they use the most clickbaity YouTube headlines.
They're good. They're good at their job.
It's the best team in the country. Yeah, it's pretty funny, but they do a good job, and they're pretty unique to the college basketball scape, which is cool.
Was that your Fanta impression right there? Is that what that was?
No, I don't know what that was, but Fanta's a legend.
He is. Oh, I love watching Fanta. Yeah, no doubt.
Michael Hogg says in the chat, Braggs, stop being intimidated, Painter. You try it. It's terrifying. Okay. He gives you this look of, it's like I always compare it to a velociraptor, you know, like in the movie Jurassic Park. You got one looking at you and you're just expecting another one to come to your side and just take you out. And that's what he's doing right there. It's terrifying. So you try it sometime, but it is terrifying. There's some new people in the chat. Some of my guys, I saw a Shy Sports Fan, my guy from Twitter, jumped in here. So I appreciate everybody showing up. Once again, we got another big number, 130 in the YouTube chat alone. Well over 160 total live viewers here right now. So that's great. We really appreciate all your support. This thing continues to grow. Please, if you're in the YouTube chat, Shy Sports Fan, hit the like button. Don't just come in here with your emojis. Hit the like button because you're my friend. Yeah, Twitter boys all day, Mike. All you guys, if you're here this long, we're an hour into this show now, you're enjoying what you're seeing. We're going to keep bringing great content, keep bringing great guests on, keep bringing great analysis and instant reaction. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. We may not be impressing Derek's wife, but Derek's obviously enjoying what's going on here. So I don't know. You know, I can leave and get in my car. You guys can wrap it up. I don't know what you guys else want to talk about. You guys take it from here.
I'm going to tell the chat to chill out, man. You guys are getting spicy in there with each other. We've got the #1 team in the country. We don't have that much.
I can't even.
We don't have that much.
What are they yelling about?
We don't have that much to argue about, man. Be happy, guys.
What are they yelling about?
We won by 20
I saw
today.
Mike saying that too. The chat is getting tense, but I can't really see. You know,
It's-
there's so many
it's-
different comments. I can't. I mean, is it really that bad? What's going on?
No. It's. I think it's chilled out now. I think it's chilled out.
We got to get a bouncer in there. No.
Did you see Corey's comment about the Painter urinal story? I wish we could have him on right now. Tell that story.
Well, we
I'm
always
sure that's
have,
a great one.
we always have the ability to send you the StreamYard link to come in.
I don't. I feel like we
but
should.
he may not be
preview-
allowed to tell the story. I don't know.
I feel like we should preview that story first before we bring that on. So
Yeah, they'll definitely shut the lights off on me in here if we start,
Yeah.
giving out some state secrets.
Yeah, true. I forgot
Yeah.
you're in the building right now.
I am
you're
in the
compound.
building. So like every time we trying to figure out how we're gonna do this, and I was like, what's weird? I mean, I got this guy over my shoulder working. He's got his earbuds in, thank God. But I don't know. I almost was gonna ask.
Tune in.
To your point, Greg, of hitting the road, wrapping up, or whatever. We did a 2-hour show last night too. This game was, not that hard to really break down. I don't know how much left we really got to talk about right now. Personally,
No, I agree.
I have something on the defense. I guess I don't even have it a ton. Like, I thought this was one of Purdue's better defensive games, at least in a bit. I think
as a team.
Yeah, as a team.
Yeah.
It was pretty much just everybody up and down. Obviously, Penn State gets their switches. Like, Lawyer got switched a few times onto Pickett. Smith got switched a few times onto Pickett because we were switching 1 through 4. And then Pickett's able to back down, and then oftentimes Edie's coming over to double. I thought Purdue rotated really, really well from there. Penn State got some open threes, and they're going to because that is just who they are. But I thought a lot of it was contested. You saw guys just – nobody was stuck to their man. Everybody was, pretty mobile and willing to move. If somebody doubles, then they know that they're rotating. If the extra pass is made, now the guy from the corner is coming up to contest that, and then somebody's rotating back to the corner. I just thought overall it was just really good team defense. TKR, I thought TKR was really good off the bench, which is good to see because he's struggled a bit on defense. Jenkins had some really good minutes on Pickett, but.
And Joe, the possession and by the way, NBA general managers turn this off while I say this. Edie has really shown off his mobility the past couple games, coming over and doubling on the catch in the post. And the one play tonight, he got switched onto Cam Winter, Penn State's point guard, stayed with him one-on-one, just blocked his shot, and it turned into a fast break that ended up bouncing off Lawyer's knee. That might have been the moment of the game for me. Obviously, Gillis' stuff notwithstanding, but Edie sliding right with Cam Winter, a point guard, blocking his shot. I mean, that was an unbelievable play. The other awesome play was Braden jumping the passing lane, getting down there and finishing that layup. I thought both those plays were pretty fun and indicative of the defensive performance overall.
Did you said Braden's play and Zach's play?
Yeah, Braden's play where he jumped the pass and took it.
You're not going to mention Ethan Morton's LeBron chase down block?
I'm going to leave that to Joe. I was going to leave that to Joe on Morton, but
I mean, Morton had a couple. He had 2 against Maryland. He had the one where he blocked it off the backboard into the. He hit 2 Maryland dudes in the face. He had one where he saved one off of Jameer Young's face, but I think he was technically out already. Whatever. And then he had the block that blocked off of the backboard into the dude's face and then went out of bounds.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I love this comment. I missed the beginning. Who did we pick for player of the game?
I was thinking.
Do we need to vote on this?
Maybe. Smith had a good game. TKR played really well off the bench. I thought so. Maybe one of them.
When Gillis came into the presser, somebody in the back row, he goes, "What are you doing in here, Mason?" So everybody's kind of. When somebody's as hot as he is, it's just laughable to see because it was unbelievable to witness in person. I mean, the guy doing the decibel readings on Sunday, we were wondering, he wasn't here today. So then I went down because there was a guy sitting in his seat and I thought they were just a different guy monitoring it. They weren't monitoring it. So, but I got to think on that 7th or 8th 3, when he hit a few in a row before they called a timeout, you got to think it hit about the same level. And it was
loud,
subdued to start the game. And then Mason brought it back to this level that it was on Sunday for the entirety of the day, from 30 minutes pregame until everybody left the building. But Mason brought it to this just epicenter of there's an earthquake in here. Even at one point I saw a dad taking his 2 kids down, and I was almost certain he was taking them out of here because it was so loud. My ears were ringing. So just a great day. Michael Hogg does ask, and I don't know if you guys brought this up. I don't know. The chat's moving, but Michael Hogg did ask,
5.
Did Braden end up with 5 or 6 rebounds? I'll say this about his the dude is he is like Inspector Gadget with his arms. Like he had, like Ethan pointed it out on our show, how long his arms are. And then just like and then he's got this Spider-Man thing where he's like, he had the one where he got the rebound and then he saved it out of bounds underneath the baseline.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just crazy how skilled he is, how long his arms are, how sticky his hands are. It's just like the guy has just an unbelievable talent with the ball.
Are you guys old enough or old enough to know Inspector Gadget?
I was a huge Inspector Gadget guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
That was
Well, I knew you were, Braggs. You're old too. I was asking those two.
I have way older
Yeah, I know.
brothers, so I don't know if it's just because of them, but I do know that one.
Yeah. So
I don't know much. I'm the oldest. I don't know much, but
well, we just
heard the
passed
name.
the what's that?
If you're wanting to wrap it up, we can. If not, I was going to be like, hey, like, should we concern about this? But
You know
let's
what?
just enjoy
Like Kraig
let's just
said
enjoy the win.
last night, we went 2 hours strong. My buddy Mark Carmen, who does radio for Northwestern, and he does our Bears shows on CHGO Bears. He's like, "How the fuck did you do a 2-hour Purdue show last night?" He's like blown away by this. I was like, "It was good content, man." He's like, "I'm sure it was." That's all
Well, we brought Isaiah on, and
Right.
like we had a whole season's worth of officiating questions to get
was
out of
great.
the way in one night,
and
and
anybody
people
tuned
loved
in,
it.
right? And anybody tuned in right now that didn't watch last night's episode with David Jenkins, the interview went about 30-35 minutes, and then we brought on Craig's buddy Isaiah, who has a refereeing background, and he held his own. He came in here and kind of showed what he's all about with his knowledge of the game from a referee standpoint, and then that went about 30 minutes. Both interviews were really, really good. Must watch for any Boiler fan or really any college basketball fan in general. Really informative, and you're going to love the David Jenkins interview. The humility and the leadership and the veteranship that he shows to this team and what he was speaking on our show last night was truly inspiring and impressive. He's an impressive young man, and they need that kind of leadership on this team. Yeah, well, no 2-hour show tomorrow. We're going to be probably off till Saturday. You just never know when we'll go live here. You know, somebody calls us up and says, hey, I want to come on the show. We're not going to stop them depending on who it is. But Saturday, we are definitely going to be here, right here in studio. I'll be at my house. We'll all be at our stations as soon as the final whistle blows at Assembly Hall. So please tune in for that show. Got some big plans. We're certainly going to do our thing like we always do, but I got some things up my sleeve and some plans for that show, trying to bring some fireworks for it for all you fine listeners and viewers. Now that we're on audio too, I got to shout out Joe because he's helping us get this show on audio platform. People have been begging for it.
Begging. We got to promote that. Got to promote that hard.
Why don't you tell everybody where they can find us on audio platforms now that we're available there?
Yeah, we are Boilers in the Stands. We are on Apple, Google, and Spotify. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Our first episode that was up was just the David Jenkins interview. 45, 50 minutes. Really, really good. Highly recommend you go check it out on one of those. Obviously, everything's going to be through YouTube still. So if because we do, we play clips or stuff like that. You're going to be missing out a little bit on that from the audio side. So there's still the YouTube part if you want it, but definitely, Apple, Google, Spotify. If there's another podcasting platform that any of you use like consistently, let us know. I can get it on there. I just know those are the main ones, so that's just all I went with for now.
Yeah, we're trying to help you out. The people that just want to listen to it while they're at work or whatever, completely understand. Hit the like button while you're running out of here while we're giving our final messages. Please, for the love of God, in the YouTube chat. Yeah, we're running a sub. What somebody said it earlier, a sub thing. I don't know.
Subathon.
Just a subathon. Subscribe to the dang show. Like the show, please. You've been here long enough. Help us out. Help us help you. Of course, we're gonna, like I said, gonna be live Saturday. Hit the like button, all that stuff. Thank you for all you guys and your hard work. Kraig, do you want to get last word in tonight? Because yesterday I did final word.
Just cut me off, dude.
And then I just said good night, everybody. So Kraig, you give us the final word for the night.
Hey. Looking forward to Saturday. Obviously, this is always a momentous occasion in the state of Indiana. I can't believe they're showing Duke, North Carolina on game day on Saturday. That's kind of a joke to me with where those two programs are right now. But this is appointment television every single year in the state of Indiana. But this year, I think it's the first time since 2016. I think I saw that both teams are ranked going against each other. Number one, unanimous Boilermakers going down to Bloomington. It is going to be crazy in that environment that they're going to go into. Absolutely can't wait for it. If you're not on Boiler Diehards and on Facebook, if you're not in the group with us, come join 10,000 fans that are massive Purdue fans, and we will vet you and let you in if you pass the Boilermaker test.
Uh-oh, there we go. I passed it somehow. It let me in. The wolf in the hen house or whatever the adage is. But all right, guys. Kraig got the final word. That's going to wrap things up for tonight. Like I said, tune in Saturday. It's going to be a fun show, and we got some special things planned for all of you. So have a good night, everybody. Boilers win, and always boiler up.